Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbity Bobbity Books. My name is Ellie and today I'm going to be filming a reading vlog. So I haven't filmed a reading vlog in a really long time, and so I thought I would start one today. I've got a long weekend off work, so I figured now would be a really good time. I don't have any major plans for what I'm going to do over the next 4 days, but the weather is supposed to be really nice, so I'm looking forward to maybe spending some time outdoors and of course doing some reading. So yeah, today is Friday and I finished work. It's gone 6, can you believe it? The weather is absolutely stunning. I can't believe how bright and sunny it still is. And I just feel so lucky to be able to hang out in this garden and to enjoy the weather. In terms of my reading, oh actually before I get into it, I just want to say, please let me know how the sound quality is because I've got a new microphone and I've never used it before, so hopefully it's set up correctly. Hopefully the sound is okay. I know I've had a few comments on my videos recently saying that there's been this annoying sort of background noise on my videos, and I have noticed that during editing, and I've been trying to figure out what it is and I can't for the life of me figure out what's causing that sound. There's nothing on like in the room when I'm filming, and it happens like regardless of where I film. So I feel like it's either something wrong with my actual camera or maybe the ring light that I often use for my sit down videos, maybe that's making some kind of sound. But anyway, I've gone ahead and invested in a external microphone, so hopefully that resolves the issue and the sound quality is okay. But please let me know because I always value your feedback. Anyway, books. So in terms of my reading, I just wanted to update you on what I've been reading, and I'm actually starting on a little bit of a negative, so sorry to do that, but I recently started How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Rexler, and I have read quite a lot actually. I've made it up to page 202, so I think I'm over the 50% mark of this book, and I've actually decided to put it down because it's just not really working for me. And I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion because I feel like this is quite a popular one on BookTube, but it was putting me in a bit of a slump, if I'm being honest. And I'm normally really bad at DNFing books, and I was gonna just push through to the end because I've already invested quite a lot of time into this book. But I said to myself, no, Ellie, you need to be better at DNFing books and only reading books that you're actually enjoying. So for that reason, I'm actually gonna put this one down. If you don't know what this book is about, it is a comedy fantasy. And the premise is basically that we follow this main character, this woman who is stuck in a time loop. So she's a human woman from Earth, but she wakes up in this fantasy world and is told that she is the savior. She is the only person who's going to be able to save the kingdom from the Dark Lord. And the idea is that basically every time she dies, every time she fails at saving the kingdom, she wakes up where she started. So she's lived for hundreds and hundreds of years. She spent so long trying to save this fantasy world, and she's basically sick of it now. So this time when she wakes up, she's decided, do you know what? I'm just going to become the Dark Lord myself because the Dark Lord always seems to win and I'm sick of always being on the losing side. So that's basically what she does. She decides to become the Dark Lord and we follow her journey, and it's very like crude in its humour. It's very kind of self-aware. It reminds me a lot of Deadpool, the movie, in that there is this sort of breaking the fourth wall quality to it, where she will talk to you directly as a reader, and you know, she swears a lot and things like that. It's quite crude. There's quite a lot of dark humour in it as well, because as you can imagine, this character, she dies quite a lot trying to do what she does, and she's quite flippant about it because she knows that if she dies, she'll just wake up at the beginning again. So there's quite a lot of sort of comedy around that, so it's quite dark in its nature, so it might not be for everyone. For me, I actually was quite entertained in the beginning of this book. I thought it was quite funny, but then it just all got a bit much for me, and honestly I got a bit bored. The sort of comedy element wore off for me. I think I just found our main character to be pretty one-dimensional. She is supposed to have lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, and she's supposed to not really remember her life on Earth, but at the same time she spends basically the entire book like pulling out these pop culture references for like comedy value. And it made me chuckle a bit in the beginning, but then I got a bit bored of it and I was like, can we try and find humour in another way? Also, our main character is really horny. She's constantly thinking about the next lay, and I'm kind of in two minds because at first I was like, oh, that's quite cool that we have a female character that's like that, because you don't often see female characters portrayed in that way. Female characters tend to be slut-shamed in things. So I quite liked that she was very open about her like desires and things like that, and would have these like flings. But then it got a bit much, and it felt like her entire personality was basically her having a really high sex drive and just constantly referencing pop culture. And so yeah, I got to the 50% mark and I was having to force myself to read through this one, and it just wasn't doing it for me. So I've decided to call it quits, and the next book that I'm going to read instead is going to be Authority by Jeff Vandermeer. So this is the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy, and I read the first book. Is it Annihilation? I think that's what it's called. I read that one quite a while ago and I loved it. I thought it was really great. I also loved the movie adaptation for it as well. So if you're looking for a movie recommendation, I would recommend that one. It's quite weird and quite strange, but it's also a lot of fun. So yeah, this is a sci-fi horror series, and I don't know too much about the second book actually. I haven't read the blurb on purpose because I just want to go in without knowing too much. But the first book basically follows a group of scientists who go into this area called Area X. It's this weird phenomenon that no one really knows what's going on with it. And we basically follow this research team as they go in and they investigate, and weird, horrific things start to happen. And I just really enjoy Jeff Vandermeer's writing. I really like his creative and unique ideas, and I'm hoping to get more of that in this second book. But yeah, I will let you know my thoughts as I read through this one. Hopefully it's going to be a hit. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit out here for a little bit, start this book, and yeah, let's just see where the next few days take us. Okay, so hey everyone, I've been sat out here just for a little while and I've read the first 20 pages of Authority, and my first thoughts are, dang, I wish I'd reread the first book, Annihilation, before going into this one, because I feel like there is actually quite a lot of references to the first one and my memory of what happens isn't the clearest. So I'm in two minds as to whether to put this down and go back and reread the first book. I don't know yet, but I am still enjoying this one so far. This one feels quite different. I feel like the first book was written in first person, and we were following the perspective of the biologist who was going into Area X, and we were following her experience of what happened when this group of researchers went into this unknown area. Whereas in this story, I think it's in third person narration. And we're following the perspective of a man called John Rodriguez, and he refers to himself as Control, so I'm just going to call him Control from now on. But he is the new director of the government facility that is trying to figure out what is going on with Area X. And his job is basically to try and figure out why no one has been able to get to the bottom of what is going on with this area, why people are going missing, why the people who do come back from Area X who went in on a research expedition came out and are acting weird, or why they all go on to develop cancer and die. What is going on? Why has no one figured it out yet? So he is basically going back through sort of old manuscripts, old transcripts and things like that, and trying to piece things together for himself. But there is references to the first book, which was, I think it was it the 12th or the 13th expedition to go into Area X. And I believe the old director was actually the psychologist of the group, who is a character that we get to know in the first book. But yeah, there are references to characters like the biologist in the first book, and I'm a little bit hazy on the details, like I said. So I don't know, should I go back and reread the first one, or should I carry on with this one? What I will say is that I'm already enjoying Jeff Vandermeer's writing, and I already have intrigue. I am not sure if we're actually going to go into Area X in this book or if it's going to take place solely in the government facility. I'll be a little bit disappointed if we don't go into Area X, because that was one of the main things that I liked about the first book, because it was such a weird and creative setting. And I really enjoy things that are like naturey horror vibes, and that's kind of what we got in Annihilation. It was kind of this overgrown jungle type aesthetic that just wasn't quite right, and it was so creepy and atmospheric. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get the same atmosphere vibes from this book, but we shall see. Anyway, I am now going to head in because it's actually starting to get a little bit cooler now. The sun is slowly going down. It's so nice to have these bright evenings though. It makes such a difference. It's just so lovely to feel like you still have some of the day after you finish work. But anyway, I'm going to go in, get myself a drink and figure out what we're having for tea and things like that, and do some more reading, and I'll keep you posted on my thoughts. Good morning everybody, happy Saturday, and what a beautiful Saturday morning it is today. It's so sunny and it's so warm already, and it's still really early. So I've come outside to eat my breakfast. I've just been sitting and enjoying the bird song. It's so peaceful out here. Danny, my husband, is still in bed. He's having a bit of a lie-in, which is fair enough. He's had a very busy week. But I've decided to get up, and I thought I would catch up with you out here in the sunshine. So I read a little bit more of Authority last night by Jeff Vandermeer. I'm now about up to page 50, so I'm still pretty early on, but I do think I'm just going to carry on reading this one, and I'm not going to go back and read the original. And I actually quite like that I'm a bit fuzzy on the details, because our main character in this story is trying to piece together what happened to the researchers that went into Area X himself, and he doesn't really know. So I'm kind of following along with him, and I'm still kind of discovering things alongside him. But I also like the fact that my memory is being jogged by certain things as reminders of things that happened in the first book, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this happened. And so I'm a little bit ahead of our main character, because obviously I knew what happened through the perspective of the biologist in the first book. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this one. I just really enjoy Jeff Vandermeer's writing, and I was worried that this wouldn't have as much atmosphere as the first book, because so far it's just been set in the government facility and we haven't actually gone into Area X. And I thought it was kind of the environment and the setting that really sold it for me in the first book, but I think it's also just the writing. Like, Jeff Vandermeer is great at creating atmosphere and tension. Like, not much has happened so far in the book. I'm only 50 pages in, and there's already been some nice descriptions of just the building. So something that you think would be quite mundane, he still manages to create, like I say, tension. So I just wanted to read you a little bit of his writing here. So he's literally just describing a room, but in my opinion, it's written so well. So for example, this is just a short passage, and it says, "The floor beneath his shoes was grimy, almost sticky. The fluorescent lights above flickered at irregular intervals, and the table and chairs seemed like something out of a high school cafeteria. He could smell the sour metallic tang of a low-quality cleaning agent, almost like rotting honey." So I also enjoy the fact that we have references to things like rotting honey and decay and things like that, even though we're in this building. So it almost feels like the influence of Area X, the kind of like nature horror vibes of that area, is kind of leaking into this government building. So that's really cool. I also am just really enjoying our main character. He seems quite complex. He's got a really interesting relationship with his parents and his grandparents that is being revealed throughout the narrative. And he also has these like dreams, and I think it's all linked somehow to Area X. And he also has this weird connection to one of the people that he is interviewing. So someone who went into Area X and came out, he is interrogating, and he has this kind of connection with them that I'm interested to explore. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to continuing on. In terms of our plans for today, we are actually going to head out to IKEA. So if you don't know, we recently moved house, which is very, very exciting, and we still have lots to do in terms of furnishing the house and stuff. So we're going to go to IKEA and have a little look around, because we're both off today. So that's what we're going to do. We might go and get some lunch out somewhere, and then I'm just going to do a whole load more reading. My husband and I are currently listening to the audiobook for the final book in the Mistborn trilogy. Is it called The Hero of Ages? And we're really, really close to the end. I think we've only got about 40 minutes left on the audiobook, so we're probably going to finish that today. So I'll let you know my thoughts on that once we finish it. And yeah, it should just be a lovely sunny weekend. Hey everyone, so it is a lot later now, as I'm sure you can tell by the fact that it is like dark outside. The day has just disappeared from us. We spent like hours in IKEA. What is it about that furniture store that like makes you lose track of all time?
It's because you travel through many different houses and apartments on your journey, and you follow the magical arrows on the floor, and it just takes a long time.
If you don't know, IKEA is a like furniture shop, and they lay it out so that they have like rooms set up so you can walk through different rooms to get inspiration for what you might want to do with your house. Anyway, we spent a long time there, and we didn't really make any major purchases, but we got some ideas of things that we might want for the house, which is productive. And we've made some notes of some things. But anyway, I wanted to hop on here now that we're back and just chat with you, because it was quite a drive to IKEA. And on the drive, we actually finished Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So we have finished the Mistborn series. So that's fun. And this is my husband, by the way, if you're wondering who this man is.
Hello.
This is Danny. And we've been listening to the Mistborn series together, so I thought it'd be fun to bring you onto my channel to just have a little chat about our sort of final thoughts on the final book. If you somehow don't know, the Mistborn series is a fantasy trilogy written by Brandon Sanderson, and the first book follows a kind of ragtag group of people who are trying to overthrow this evil Lord Ruler. So it's like a tyrant ruler who is sort of keeping an oppressed people, you know, under his foot, and it's like a rebellion plotline basically. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of fun, and we've been listening to the series.
There's magic, interesting, cool magic, using metals in various ways. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's really cool. I feel like that's the most memorable thing about the Mistborn series, is that Brandon Sanderson has this hard magic system that he explains, which involves people being able to sort of eat flakes of metal and then they burn it in their stomachs to harness magical abilities. So there are kind of a select few in this world called Mistborn or Mistings who have this ability to burn these metals, and the way that it's described and everything is really cool, and it's definitely like a very cinematic writing style, and Brandon Sanderson uses the magic and everything to make these really epic sort of fight scenes and things, which is really entertaining. And we've actually been listening to it on audio, haven't we?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just because I think it's cool, that like the way that the magic kind of works is that there are mistings that will have the ability to burn a single type of metal, because each of the different types of metal has its own power. So you can kind of almost have like a team where they have their own different abilities, but then you can get Mistborn who can burn all of the metals, and they're really dangerous and powerful because they can kind of combine different magical abilities. So it creates a lot of opportunities for interesting combat and also sort of like social stuff, you know. So for like a rebellion plotline, it's there's a lot to play with.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. So yeah, so we finished the final book today, and I feel like we've got kind of mixed feelings on it really, because this third and final book I know has been hugely hyped. I know a lot of people really, really love this series, and they also really love the final book, and they say that it kind of is mind-blowing and that there's, you know, twists and turns that they would never see coming. So I feel like I had this super high expectation for this third and final book, and while I did have a really fun time and I did enjoy this book, I definitely didn't have that mind-blown sort of experience that other people seem to have had. And yeah, so that's kind of thrown me a little bit. What what I will say is that Brandon Sanderson definitely ties everything together with a nice bow. So if you're the kind of person that likes to have, you know, everything come together at the end, then I think you're going to be really satisfied by this final book.
It's very tidy. There's no sort of, you know, you're not finding yourself sort of saying, yeah, but what happened about so and so character, or you know, what about that side quest, you know, that seemed to happen for a bit that never went anywhere. Like, you know, none of that happens. There is an explanation for everything. There is a conclusion for every aspect, which is satisfying. But it doesn't leave you much openness for any sort of theories or interpretation or anything like that. It's quite explicitly,
this is how things are, and you get all of your answers at the end.
Yeah.
I think for me, I really enjoy mystery. I really like sort of books that make me feel kind of confused and where I'm like guessing what's happening and I'm theorizing. Like, I really enjoy all of that. And then I think when I finally get answers, sometimes that can feel a little bit anticlimactic, because I'm like, oh, I've been sort of wondering this whole time what's going on, and suddenly I've got like a definite answer. And I think that's definitely a me thing, but I definitely felt that way in this book.
Yeah, it's me too, to be fair. I love mysteries, and I love, you know, trying to piece things together. And I think sometimes if you're presented with a lot of questions, it can be really exciting trying to think of answers. And sometimes the answers that you think of you might think that they're more exciting or wonderful than the answers that you then get. Or it might be that you predict something and then it's kind of like, oh, I saw that coming, you know, rather than it being like a shock or a reveal or whatever.
There were definitely some things that we called out.
Yeah.
There were some clues that we definitely picked up on. So if you're the type of person who likes to like find clues and things, then you'll definitely sort of notice things that are dropped throughout the books, really, that we kind of picked up on and were like, definitely, there's something happening with this. But yeah, Brandon Sanderson definitely like makes you 100% sure of what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like it lacks a little bit of subtlety. It is very kind of on the nose, and he likes to definitely hit home what he's going for. And that's not necessarily something that I like. I tend to actually prefer books and writers that have a bit more subtlety to the writing.
Yeah, I like there to be kind of bits of evidence of a certain thing in the world that are there and are mentioned, and that you can kind of then like extract meaning from, and you can then figure out what's going on based on these bits of evidence. But then I feel like there's quite a few times where it was sort of very much like explicitly told to you that this is what has happened or is happening or whatever, and you know, then sort of hit home quite a few times to make sure that you definitely knew this was what's going on, which takes a little bit of a subtlety out of it, or I don't know. Yeah.
It feels like, you know, the author doesn't trust his readers to pick up on things or to tie things together themselves. It's kind of like, no, I'm going to really clearly spell this out to you several times.
Yeah.
And there would also be quite a few moments where we'd maybe get some information or some exposition right after we've had a scene that's relevant to that. So kind of like, it was pretty obvious kind of where we were going with the twists and turns.
So going back to my kind of example of like, you know, bits of evidence within the world, it was almost like you'd get a bit of evidence and then you'd kind of think, you know, oh, maybe that's because of this. And then the next, you know, chapter or the next sort of excerpt in between each chapter would be like, this is what's happening, you know, which I guess in some ways maybe it's nice that it confirms what you've just, you know, seen, I suppose. It's kind of almost like the sort of the show versus tell. It's almost like sometimes it would be like show and then immediately tell, or sometimes just tell, really. Whereas I think I prefer a bit show and not tell. I think I kind of prefer. But in all fairness, it's not a mystery book. It's not a crime thriller or anything. It's not a whodunit, you know, or anything like that. It's an action fantasy adventure, which is just fun and exciting and, you know, and gripping. And it's not supposed to be a mystery, really, is it?
That's true. And, you know, there are twists and turns along the way. I think a lot of people really rate Brandon Sanderson for like subverting expectations and things like that, and there are like, you know, some big reveals and things like that happen towards the end of this book that I think, you know, is exciting.
Plenty of moments where I was, you know, like really excited and, you know, like shocked at whatever had just happened or just been revealed, and, you know, or you'd get dropped a new bit of information that would then you'd be able to then use with some other things that you've already been been theorizing about, and then it'd be like, oh, you know. So
yeah,
it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
So yeah, all in all, I would definitely, you know, recommend this fantasy series if you somehow haven't read it already, because I know it's a popular one. I loved it for what it was, but I do definitely think I prefer authors that, like I say, have a bit more subtlety to them, maybe a bit more nuance, maybe some like deeper themes to kind of delve into. Not that there weren't interesting themes in this series, because there definitely were, like, you know, themes of obviously rebellion in the first book, but also like religion is a big one, and hope and hopelessness. So there were some things in there, but nothing too meaty to sink your teeth into. I think it's more about the fun magic system. If you want something with, like you say, great action scenes, some like, you know, epic battles.
I think it would make an amazing like TV series or movie series, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe like an animated series or something. It would be incredible for that.
Yeah, it's
or even a game series. I'd love to
it would actually
play as a Mistborn. That'd be great.
So yeah, if you like all those kinds of things, then I think you'd really enjoy this series. And I also recommend the audio book, because obviously we listened to it on audio, and it was done by Graphic Audio.
Graphic Audio.
And they put like sound effects and stuff, and music onto it, which
and full cast as well.
Yeah. So it's it makes for a really like exciting listening experience.
Which for a non-hardcore reader like me, that's great. Yeah, having a full cast and soundtrack and sound effects and things is makes it a lot easier for me.
And it was like, you know, in the final scenes they had like the dramatic music playing and everything, so it was very like, captivating. So yeah, all in all, would recommend. I think sadly the hype kind of ruined it slightly for me with this final book, because I set the expectation, set the bar way too high. And I think I've also kind of like read quite a few fantasy books now, and I'm starting to learn my taste a bit more. And there's definitely other authors that I think I prefer the writing of, but this was still a fun time.
Endings are hard anyway. You know, endings are rarely good and rarely satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, it is, to be fair, you know, the author did put in the work, and there are definite like links to the first two books, and kind of knowing the full picture and knowing what the ending is makes you look back at previous books with a slightly different light, because you have all of the information by the end. So, you know, fair play, he did, you know, sow seeds throughout the series and things
definitely.
like that, which is quite satisfying, I suppose.
There'll definitely be enjoyment from doing a reread with the knowledge that you have by the end, you know, and get a different perspective and be like, you know, and see clues and stuff. That would actually be really interesting to do. But yeah. Anyway,
we need to eat tea. I'm really hungry, so we're going to go make dinner and just chill out for the evening. But I will chat with you tomorrow, I suppose. I don't know what we're going to do, but yeah, it will involve some kind of reading, and I will keep you updated. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday today. Yesterday I didn't really film much because I wasn't feeling 100%. I had a really bad sore throat actually. I thought I was coming down with a cold, but I feel better today, so I think, I don't know, it's just a weird one-off thing. But yeah, so I didn't really speak to you yesterday, and I just had a very slow Sunday. It was really nice actually. It was just basically doing housework, changing bed sheets, all that kind of thing. I did a food shop and had some cuddles with the cats, and we had like a roast dinner in the evening, so it was very just like chill Sunday, which I think is actually just what I needed, to be fair. So I did that, and then I also of course did some reading. So I've read some more of Authority, and I am still really enjoying that one. I like how our main character is having to face a lot of sort of workplace politics, because obviously he's gone into this government facility to try and figure out why the researchers have not yet found out what is going on with Area X. And so he's meeting all of these people that have dedicated their life to this research, and you can of course imagine how they would feel having this new person show up and just start questioning them. And you know, they've been in the thick of it for their whole lives, so you can imagine there would be some tension there when you suddenly have this new person coming in and being like, why are you doing things this way? You feel quite judged, I guess. So that's fun, and I'm also still enjoying a lot of the descriptions and how, yes, even though it's set in a building, it's still really tense and atmospheric. And even the descriptions of the people, actually, there's this kind of sense that Area X and its corruption is kind of leaking into everybody who's been involved with the area. So even the descriptions of the people, for example, I've actually got the book here, I tabbed a description. So it says this person had an accent that originated in the north, but at times relaxed into an adopted southern drawl. The lines to the sides of his mouth conspired with plunging eyebrows to make his face an X, a fate he perpetually fought against by being the kind of person who smiled all the time. So just the fact that his face was described to make the shape of an X, and obviously this is someone who is a researcher who's studying Area X. I don't know, it just feels like even the way people look is starting to like resemble this area. So I just really like that. I think it's just really atmospheric. So yeah, I'm still very much enjoying that book. I also started the audiobook for, I think it's called A Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan, which is the second book in the Lady Trent series. So I started that one on audio, and it's basically a fantasy series, and it's written in the style of a memoir where we're basically following this woman called Lady Trent, who is a researcher, a scholar, and her area of specialty is dragons. So she, you know, studies these creatures, and it's also kind of historical because it's set in the Regency era. So it has that kind of like almost Jane Eyre quality to it, where we have this woman who is trying to make it in science and in research, but is having to face barriers along the way because of the fact that she is a woman during this time period. So yeah, I just find those books really kind of easy to listen to and quite comforting. They're not like too crazy action filled, but they're just quite nice to just stick on and listen to. It literally feels like Lady Trent is just chatting to me about her life, and I really enjoy that. So I've also started that book. But yeah, right now I am just making some porridge for my breakfast. I'm gonna eat this and then I'm gonna get straight outside, because I think today is the last day of sunshine before it rains in typical UK fashion. So I'm gonna go out and enjoy the sunny morning while it lasts, and then come back and yeah, see where the day takes us. It's obviously my non-working day today, so I'm not sure what else I'm gonna do, but it will probably involve reading. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, so hey everyone, I have just come back from my walk this morning, and I'm so glad that I went out because it's already started to go grey and cloudy. So I'm really pleased that I actually went out this morning and made the most of the sunshine, because I think that's the last little bit of nice weather that we're going to see for a little while here in the UK. So I'm glad that I went out and enjoyed it. And there's something so magical about going out first thing in the morning when it's quiet and there's not many people around, and it just feels so peaceful and just such a lovely way to start the day. So I'm so glad that I did that. And yeah, I've come home and I have had some post, and I have had a little sneak peek, and it is book mail. So I thought I would share it with you because I'm really, really excited. So in here we have Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I just absolutely adore these new covers. They're so fun. I love the kind of classic fantasy artwork on the front here and the pretty pastel colours as well. So this is a fantasy series that I haven't read, but I have read a lot from T. Kingfisher, so I do know that I normally really get on with their writing, so hopefully this will be no exception. And I don't know much about it other than that it's kind of cozy and it's a bit of a romance. So it says on the back, Paladin's Grace is a darkly whimsical, cozy fantasy featuring sock-knitting paladins, badass perfumers, courtroom hijinks, and heart-racing romance. So yeah, it just sounds like the perfect light spring read, and I'm so excited. So that's Paladin's Grace. And then we have Paladin's Strength in this nice green colour. Look how pretty they look together. And then we also have, in this one, we have the blue, which is Paladin's Hope. And then finally, I already opened this one, we have Paladin's Faith. So it's the quartet there. Look at those pretty spring pastel colours. They're so fun. And I'm just obsessed with these covers. So I'm so glad that I have these in my collection. And I'm actually really tempted to start the first book today because I'm fancying something kind of light and something fun. So maybe I will start Paladin's Grace today. We shall see. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because I'm excited and it's books. So maybe you'll be excited too. Anyway, I'm going to have a cup of tea and grab something to eat, and then I'm going to head out to the shop because I want to pick up an Easter egg for my husband because it's Easter next weekend and he's at work today. So now would be the perfect time to sneak away and go get him a Easter egg to surprise him with. So I'm going to go and do that in a bit, but I'm going to sit and have a cup of tea first because, yeah, I'm a little bit tired from my walk, but that's the plan. And then later I'm just going to do some reading and probably have a bubble bath. What a perfect day. Okay, so hi everyone. It is quite a lot later and I have started editing this video and I realise how much footage I've got and how long this video is going to be. So I thought I'd better end the video here. But before I go, I just wanted to give you a wrap up of what I've been reading and give you an update. So I have continued to read some more of Authority by Jeff Vandermeer. I am now up to page 131 and still enjoying it, although it is a slow read. So this is definitely a story where you have to take your time with it to fully appreciate it, or you do in my opinion anyway, because there is a lot of philosophical discussion in here. There's lots to sink your teeth into, lots of interesting stuff about, you know, the constraints of viewing things through a human lens. So the fact that we might be faced with things that we can't ever fully understand because we are limited by our own mental constructs, by the language that we have. You know, we might not have the words to be able to describe something. We might not have the ability to fully understand something, and how difficult that can be as a human because we always want to try and understand things and we want to be able to categorize things neatly in a way that we understand and that makes sense, and how frustrating it can be when you're faced with something that doesn't fit. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff to think about with this, but you do have to take your time and kind of, you know, focus on the meaning behind, you know, what Jeff Vandermeer is saying. And for that reason, I have been reading this one quite slowly, but I am still enjoying it. And then I've also started Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I am about 30 pages into this one and I am enjoying it so far. It's just a fun time. It's quite comedic, and the premise is that we follow our main character, who is a paladin called Stephen, and he has lost his purpose in life because his god actually died, which is something that he didn't think could actually happen. And obviously as a paladin, that is like the worst thing that can possibly happen, because what is his purpose now that he has no god to serve? So we follow him 3 years after his god died, and we're seeing where he is now. And it turns out that he was sort of rescued in a way by this temple of the White Rat, and their sort of clerics and things took these paladins in and housed them and have tried to give them some purpose. And so we're following him, you know, as he's working for this temple of the White Rat, and yeah, that's kind of all I really know so far. I'm obviously very early on and it's just fun. I find T. Kingfisher's writing really comforting. It's really easy to fall into her stories. Her writing isn't over the top or anything, but she still creates fun atmosphere and has like unique characters and quite quirky ideas. And I like her stories for that reason. So yeah, this has been entertaining so far and I think it's going to be a quick read. So I'm looking forward to eating this one up in the next couple of days. So that is where I'm at with my reading so far. Like I said, I'm going to end the video here because I've been chatting to you and eating your ear off for a really long time. So thank you so much if you're still here and still listening. Please let me know if you enjoy this longer format of video or if it's a bit too much for you. Is it too long? I never know really. It's hard to strike that balance. But I obviously want to make content that you enjoy watching. So please do give me some feedback in the comment section down below. That would be really, really helpful. As always, don't forget to like this video if you did like it, subscribe if you want to see some more from me, and I guess I'll see you next time with another video. Bye!